Zach, we are back and we are announcing something big and exciting. The arrival of Lobby3.
We've been on the grind. We have been.
Yeah.
You're always kind of on a grind, but we've been doing some behind the scenes grinding on this.
Working on it. And so people who've worked with me for a while know that sometimes when I'm doing something I'm excited, I'm just like, hey, we're doing this.
Yes.
In this case, we've been working on it for a number of weeks and months and haven't talked about it openly until now. So what the heck is Lobby3? Lobby3 is our effort to help explain Web3 technologies and their potential to combat poverty to the folks in DC, the regulators, the lawmakers, to make sure that they don't do something that stifles this innovation before it can even really get going or reach its full potential. Super pumped about it, and I want to retrace my steps through the last number of years.
We're getting into crypto. Or whatever.
We're entering the metaverse.
Is anyone surprised? No. If the headline is Andrew Yang gets into Web3,
I've sort of had one foot in, one foot out for a while.
Yeah.
Though as a political figure, I didn't go too far in because, it was going to be over the heads of a lot of voters and there were a bunch of other things. But my first major interaction with this community was speaking at conferences and events when I was running for president.
Consensus was one of the first ones, right?
Yes.
Something around there. Yeah.
There was a Blockchain for Good conference I attended in San Francisco. And meeting these people, first it was like, these are my people. It was like my tribe.
They were your people.
Yeah. It was very
optimistic,
entrepreneurial. And 9 out of 10 of them were for some version of UBI.
Yeah.
As well.
And I would say the vast majority were like Yang Gang or Yang Gang adjacent, although the vast majority probably didn't vote. No offense, crypto community, we love you. If you had voted, we might be you might be having this conversation at Gracie Mansion.
Well, there might not have been that many in New Hampshire, Iowa, too.
Right.
But so my interactions with the community were always very energizing and invigorating. It became evident that if you're trying to combat poverty, this is maybe the single greatest opportunity that exists today because you've had hundreds of billions of dollars worth of value and thousands of jobs generated over the last number of months, really surprising just about anyone if you were to rewind the clock. Gosh, not even that many years.
Right.
I mean, 5 years.
Yep. I'd say, so a couple things. A lot of folks, so I found that people either turned on by crypto or have been turned off, right? Where you're like, this is the greatest thing in the world, and they're down a rabbit hole and they're starting NFT projects and all that stuff. Or they're like, screw this, it's a bubble, I don't understand it. What do you think?
Yeah, so a lot of people interact with it in a very superficial way. The potential of the blockchain has been clear for a while, where imagine you have, this is a technical term, but they talk about it as a distributed ledger. But let's imagine that you had a slew of interactions that no one can affect or alter so that you can trust everything. And that if anyone does make any kind of move, then it's evident for all to see.
Correct.
So if you had that kind of system, you could vote securely. You could have a completely different, broadly accessible financial system.
Yep.
You could have a truly distributed internet that's not controlled by a few megacorps.
You would take out a lot of middlemen.
You could get rid of a lot of accountants and lawyers,
a lot of leeches,
because there are a lot of major professional services firms that their primary value is papering up a transaction that if you could document it on the blockchain, then problem solved. I actually remember this. So I was an unhappy corporate attorney for 5 months. You were in investment banking.
Yep.
So
management, yeah.
I remember there was a big acquisition that we were papering up. And at the end of the acquisition, a partner at the law firm had to sign something saying, hey, this is legally acceptable. And that partner joked with me that signature was worth $1 million, because really it was this very high-end law firm putting its name on the fact that this is kosher, this is legal, everything's going to be fine. Like that firm placing its brand and reputation behind the legality of the transaction was what was being paid for in many ways.
Yes.
So you end up not needing any of that because
you could see for yourself that this is legit. Yes.
So when you talk about the potential of this technology, it is vast and has been for quite some time.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the applications and implementations to date, have we reached that level? No.
Nowhere near it.
Nowhere near it.
Nowhere near it. That's what's exciting.
And so what you're seeing now is a bunch of applications that people can look at and say, well, you know, I'm unsure whether this is going to be what's built on this technology long term.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot of other new technologies where there are going to be a slew of applications and implementations. Think even for those of you who remember this stuff, when the internet first came out, there were like a ton of different websites. And then when the bubble popped, a lot of those websites went away, but you had some game-changing companies like Amazon and PayPal and others that, you know, stood the test of time.
Correct.
Now, there's already been a couple of boom-bust cycles in crypto, but there are going to be some game-changing companies that come out of this 100%.
Yes. And it will be, this isn't going away. That's like that. What I would say is this, is you and I, we were running for president when like the early adopters were really getting in, right? You could still say it's the early adoption phase a bit, but they had Super Bowl commercials, not that early anymore. But when we were running, a lot of folks were getting into this and we're like, this is cool, not sure what it is, that sort of thing. And then we've been spending definitely last 4 months, very intently in this space, intensely in this space, but probably last 6 to 8 months, like really exploring it, like at least casually.
And talking to leaders in it and trying to figure out, okay, what are the problems? What are the needs?
Yes. And
the single biggest problem that we heard over and over again was, hey, we're concerned that the legislators and regulators don't get us.
Washington, D.C. is going to mess us up.
Yeah. I mean, there was some language in the infrastructure bill that defined broker-dealer in a way that encompassed essentially everyone under the sun. It made no sense. And if that were implemented, then it would really offshore a lot of this industry, which is exactly the opposite of what you want.
Right.
So we heard over and over again that these stories aren't being told, the use cases aren't being explained properly. There's a caricature of both the people in the industry and what it's being used for. So the caricature is, hey, this is all being used for illicit drug deals and human trafficking.
Or
and the
just
people
some
that are
rich kid that looks like me to sell his monkey photos.
And the people that are using it are either bad actors or tech bros or people who haven't had any needs. Meanwhile, in reality, when you start interacting with folks who are part of this community, there are a lot of artists who are being compensated for their creations in a way that was completely not possible before. And by the way, it has changed their lives from, living hand to mouth, or even in some cases living in their car.
I mean, you've got extreme cases where people were, homeless to like either millionaires, but you have a lot of artists. They're like, I'm able to fund my lifestyle now.
Yeah.
That's like the more average case than the extreme ones that we hear about sometimes.
Yeah, and so there were a number of things that really were hand in hand with the presidential campaign, where one of the reasons why we were so pro universal basic income is that it could give rise to a creative economy, and that's what's happened with Web3 in many cases. We also wanted to find a way to monetize different types of positive social actions.
Yes.
Because, and this is linked even to the conversation we've been having around men and boys and jobs and a bunch of other things, where if you had a system of tokens and rewards and incentives for me volunteering in my community, helping my neighbor, taking care of grandma, working out, like doing something positive for my mental health, like, whatever it is, then you can create a new network and also a set of structures that help give people, men in particular, a degree of reinforcement and purpose and fulfillment.
Yes.
And so this was something that and this is funny on the presidential. So it's in my book, and a lot of you read my book, The War on Normal People, and I called it Digital Social Credits.
Yep.
And by the way, Zach is laughing because early in the campaign, he was like, you're not allowed to talk about digital social credits ever again. Because the Asian guy talking about digital social credits just seems like, frankly, China social engineering and blah, blah, blah.
You were also already far out. You know what I'm saying? You had already the free money guy or UBI. You had a bunch of new ideas, and then this one was like so far out. And we understood why you did it, like if you ever talked to you, but it was just another thing you had to explain.
Yeah, so clearly the idea of digital social credits and tokens, it's already happening
Yes.
now in the metaverse with Web3 and crypto. So so there were a bunch of things that were super aligned about the vision. And when the leaders in this community were to identify a need, some of them would say, you know what, Andrew, you'd actually be a really good fit to help make this case because you were like a political actor who has relationships on both sides of the aisle and a public profile. And what many of them did not know, but now they do know, is that we had started an advocacy organization in DC that had been doing this sort of work around anti-poverty measures like cash relief and the enhanced child tax credit. And so it really is a perfect fit because this can be the next big step in fighting poverty. If we're able to demonstrate what these technologies can do to enable, for example, like a poor neighborhood in Ohio or Washington, D.C. to get access to financial services in a way that they couldn't before. And by the way, not just to access, but have some buying power.
Right.